All right, guys, here we go. Little experimental video we're going to do here. We've got James and Christian's second two-pill 2879C with bias and sideband on it, set up for sideband just like the other one. But we're going to test it with 3 different radios. Originally, I was just going to hook this Chrome up and test it with it. It's a low output radio. But I figured, what the heck, take advantage of a situation and test all 3. That way people have some sort of idea of what it'll do with all 3 radios. Now, this Chrome is not that hot. It does about 7 watts average and about 25 watts peak. Ever so often on these Chromes, you'll get one like this, and it talks just fine. All the mods done to it, VFO wind-up, variable power on the RF gain, all that stuff. Gumps mods have all been done to it. But 1 out of about 10 or 15 of these won't do the same output as the others. The other ones did about 10 to 12 watts average and anywhere between 40 and 50 PEP. This one does about 25 PEP and about 7 watts average. So not as stout, but still it has its purposes. Really good to run with like a RM Italy or something like that. And it's not going to be enough to make this 2-pill really get up and go, but what you could do is use this to drive the 2-pill to drive into something else, because it doesn't make the 2-pill do very much. So you'd have a good range of output with it, some good headroom. The Connex, on high, I know it does about 16 to 18 watts average and 50 PEP. On low, I don't remember what it does on average, but the PEP is about the same, so it does about the same peak. And then this guy, once again, 35 to 40 watts peak and 10 watts average. So anyway, that being said, let's get on with the test here. First things first, make sure our sideband delay works. There it is. You can tell the slight delay there with the sideband. Not a really exaggerated delay, but the delay works. Test this thing, average power first, 1,000 watt slug. Let's see, bottom scale. Audio, about 120 or so average. Then we'll go to peak. Audio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So about 390 peak. It's doing maybe just a shade less than the other one that we had hooked up. Hello, drawing about the same current. So 23.5 amps. Okay, so that's done. Now what we're going to do, we're going to hook up the Chrome. Don't expect to see the same kind of output with the Chrome. It's going to do a good bit less. I can already guarantee it. But it's got its purposes, like I said. It's going to do less, but it's still got its purposes. Anyway, so let's hook up the Chrome. We'll test it with it, and then we'll go to the Connex. Let me pause the video. We'll be right back. Okay, here we are. We've got the Chrome hooked up. That's got all the mods done to it, VFO wind-up and all that good stuff. Let's see if we can do our VFO wind-up real quick. There you go, just to show you that that thing works. But that's not what we're really here for. We just want to see the difference in output. So this is a very mild radio, 7 watts average, 7.5 watts average, and 25 watts peak. So let's check the current draw difference. Audio. So 15, 16 amps on the current draw. So big difference there. We went from 23 down to about 15. So you know there's going to be an output difference. All right, here we go. 1,000 watt slug, average power, bottom scale. Audio, wow, not even 100 watts average, right? Still 10 times what we're putting into it though. Audio, over 80, we're putting 7 watts average in. Now let's go to PEP, 1,000 watt slug still. Peak power, peak power, peak power. Audio, 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 audio. Just over 200. So 200 watts peak, 80 watts average. Really running these transistors conservatively. Now keep in mind, these are the C transistors, 14.5 volts. They don't even take off until 15 volts. So if we had 15 volts, we'd probably jump up another 30, 40, maybe 50 watts PEP, even with this mildly done radio. Okay, so that's the Cobra 29 Chrome. 15 amps worth of current versus 23 amps worth of current on the other one. And then almost 400 watts peak with the Uniden. Only about 200, maybe 210 on this one. 80 watts average versus 120, 130 watts average with the Uniden. So the radio makes all the difference in the world as far as the starting drive and everything. So now we're going to go to the strongest radio that we have, the Connex 3300 HP. Old faithful for me here. First export radio I ever had. Actually, the second CB radio that I ever had. 21 going on 22 years ago. So let's hook this guy up and see what it does. Gonna pause the video and we'll be right back. Alright guys, here we go. Now we've got the Connex hooked up. Now this radio is a good bit stouter than both of the ones that we just hooked up. Expect to see this thing drive a 2-pill a lot harder. I don't think that I've ever had this radio hooked up to a 2-pill, so kind of going to be a experience for me to see what it makes it do. We're going to start out on low power. Amp is on AM. Watt meter is on average power. Let's go over here. Same 1000 watt slug, bottom scale. Audio. Audio. So about 180 watts average. This thing is really making a 2-pill get up and go. Now let's just check it on high power for the heck of it, see if it makes a difference. Audio, not really. Not really. Not really. Almost 200. Test, 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 test. Audio, radio. 200 watts average. Golly, this thing's really getting with it. So let's go back down to low power, test it on peak. Audio, 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 audio. Would you look at that though? Just a little bit over 400 watts peak still. Audio, 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 audio. Now we're going to turn it on high power and check it on peak. If I can get my hands right here. Audio, 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 audio. Still over 400. So really, it didn't make a whole lot of difference on peak power, but we saw that average output come alive. Now, what we're going to do, let's turn it on high just for the amp draw. Now we're just going to check the current. Slide our little clamp meter over here. Audio, 30 amps. So there you have it, folks. The Connex drives it the hardest, obviously, but main takeaway, peak power, not a big difference between this radio and the Connex. Average power, big difference. Almost 60, 70 watts more average power. And you know what that did? That made our current come up over here because we were doing more average power. We drew about 7 amps more current. So that's the takeaway. And look, I'm just going to say this. You got a lot of these guys out here that do these videos on amplifiers, and they'll have a radio like this one that just shows you your amps doing a lot of average power. I mean, you guys saw it. I just made this 2-pill do almost 200 watts average. Well, if I sold you this 2-pill and you thought, oh man, I'm going to get that home and it's going to do 200 bird, but you've got a Cobra 29 or you've got a Uniden or you've got something else, you're going to be real disappointed when you get this amp home. So, yes, I can hook this Connex up to every amp we do a video on. and I can show you guys crazy average power numbers. And there are amp builders out there that are doing that. I'm not going to put them on blast who they are, but they do that. And then when you ask them about it, you say, well, man, hell, my 2-pill's only doing 100 watts average. It was doing 200 at your shop. You know what they're going to tell you? They're going to tell you that you have to get a radio done up by such and such to see that kind of power. So, you know, take that stuff with a grain of salt, guys. I don't care. I'll hook any radio up to any amp and show you guys what it does. If it's something that I have here, I don't care. But just know, look, this Connex, it's going to drive any amp that comes through here harder than these other radios. 200 watts average out of a 2-pill. That's insane. But there's people out there showing that stuff. So just keep that in mind. Questions, comments, complaints, let me know. James and Christian, this is y'all's 2-pill. Tested it every which way possibly can. And hope you guys are happy with it. Boxing your stuff up right now, but I just want to do this experimental video. Questions, comments, complaints, let me know. Shoot me a text, 423-299-3535. And one last thing, guys. If you're out there buying an amp from somebody, make them show you what it does on peak and average. Don't just let them tell you that they only do bird watts or they only do peak watts, whatever. Make them show you what it does on peak and average power. That's my advice. Rooster in Tennessee. See you, bye.